by simply hearing about Krishna. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, and our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, who's a great acharya, a great teacher, he came to the Western world to distribute the Vedic knowledge that reveals the existence, the activities, the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Specifically through the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita as it is, most important. There are so many, over 600 different translations of Bhagavad Gita that are not Bhagavad Gita as it is, but Bhagavad Gita as it is not. So, Srila Prabhupada blessed the people of the world with the proper understanding of Krishna's words, because Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. The song of God. So, we're trying to hear this song. We have to understand in Krishna in the early chapters, he's trying to explain that we're not the body. We are not our bodies. But we are spiritual entities. We're spirit souls. And we are deeply conditioned in this material existence by our mind and senses. Our mind and senses. So, in the 6th chapter, it's called Samkhya Yoga. Krishna has presented so many things, but in the 33rd chapter, Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. Now, Arjuna is he's from the royal family. He's a great warrior. In fact, practically speaking, the battle of Kurukshetra, which is just about to start, is won by Arjuna. And he's a personal friend of Krishna. And Arjuna is saying, Yo yam yogas tvaya prokta samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvat stitim stiram. O Madhusudana, the system of yoga, which you have summarized, appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. And the next verse. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sudhuskara. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it is, it seems to me, more difficult than controlling the wind. The Blessed Lord said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by constant practice and by detachment. So Srila Prabhupada is purported, he's explained this particular verse. The difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind, as expressed by Arjuna, is accepted by the personality of Godhead. But at the same time, he suggests that by practice and detachment, it is possible. What is that practice? In the present age, no one can observe strict rules and regulations, such as placing oneself in a sacred place, focusing the mind on the supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 types of devotional service to the Lord. The first and foremost of such devotional engagements is hearing about Krishna. This is a very powerful transcendental method for purging the mind of all misgivings. The more one hears about Krishna, the more one becomes enlightened and detached from everything that draws the mind away from Krishna. By detaching the mind from activities not devoted to the Lord, one can very easily learn vairagya. Vairagya means detachment from matter and engagement of the mind in spirit. Impersonal spiritual detachment is more difficult than attaching the mind to the activities of Krishna. This is practical because by hearing about Krishna, one automatically becomes attached to the Supreme Spirit. This attachment is called Paresha Anubhuti, spiritual satisfaction. It is just like the feeling of satisfaction a hungry man has for every morsel of food that he eats. So that's a very wonderful example. The person is hungry. So what happens when a person is hungry? They're feeling some distress. They're feeling weakness. They're feeling pain even. Of course, most of us in this world, we don't really get that hungry where it hurts, as some people in more unfortunate situations do. But as a person is allowed to eat, then they feel relief of hunger, relief of the pain. They feel nourishment, strength, and they feel pleasure, the pleasure of eating. So, similarly, by discharging devotional service, one feels transcendental satisfaction as the mind becomes detached from material objectives. It is something like curing a disease by expert treatment and appropriate diet. Hearing of the transcendental activities of Lord Krishna is therefore expert treatment for the mad mind. Mad mind. And he smiles here. The mad mind. And eating the foodstuffs offered to Krishna is the appropriate diet for the suffering patient. This treatment is the process of Krishna consciousness. We have there's a nice picture in the Bhagavad Gita. Can't show, but even the cover here we see there's a chariot. There's a chariot, and the chariot is being pulled by horses. And the horses are being controlled by the reins. The rein is being controlled by the driver. And the passenger, of course here it's Arjuna who's fighting. But there's a passenger in the chariot. So in the Vedic understanding it's presented in the scriptures that the senses are like the horses. And in the picture that's within the book, it shows on the chest of one of the horses there's a hand, on the other there's a nose, there's a tongue, gives an ear. The different senses are there on the chest of the animals. So that is what the senses are. We all have senses. And the senses are meant to be controlled by the mind. The reins. And the reins, the mind is meant to be directed by the intelligence. But practically speaking, in the material world, our senses are running wild. Running wild. Whatever the sense wants, whatever we want to see, whatever we want to hear, whatever we want to taste, then the mind engages to find those things. So the mind is meant for controlling the senses. But if the mind is also contaminated by material desire, then it doesn't act very properly. So we have the difficulty of the mad mind. The mad mind. So, how to control the mind? How to engage the mind? Srila Prabhupada mentions here. Hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, the different activities of devotional service are very powerful. Very powerful. Even just sitting here and listening to the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, one's consciousness becomes purified. And the mad mind gradually becomes cleaned. The whole process of devotion is to clean the heart and clean the mind. So we have this opportunity. The process of bhakti is engaging our senses. Instead of engaging the senses in whatever people are doing out there, today is the Comrades Marathon, is it? Comrades. So some people are running 90 kilometers, and some people are watching them. And of course there's football games, other things going on, where people can engage their senses. But the result of that engagement is they simply become more and more confused and contaminated. So how to become cleansed? How can the consciousness be cleared so that we can actually think of God? And actually think of God. And we want to think of God at least at the time when we have to leave this body. Now, many of you may be thinking, well, that may be a long time. Especially if you're Bishop. Bishop is only a few. How old are you again? 9 years. So who's over 72? Anyone over 72? Okay, so I'm closer. Practically speaking, closer to giving up this body. But we have to practice. We have to practice. And the practice leads not only to safety, but it leads to enjoyment and happiness. The more we hear about Krishna, we don't have to wait till we're leaving this body to enjoy spiritual happiness. That we can experience even now with the proper mood of devotion. So all of the activities that we try to perform in our lives are to help us come to the level where we are devoted to the Supreme Lord. We are His servants. We were discussing in the Bhagavatam this morning with the Bhakti Vaibhava group that nobody wants to serve. Who wants to serve? Nobody wants to serve. Unless you're intelligent. I don't serve anybody. I don't serve anyone. I'm my own boss. But everyone is serving their senses. Everyone is serving their senses. You're hungry, you have to go to something to eat. Sleepy, you have to sleep. You want some gratifications in other ways, and you have to chase after them. So the senses are ordering. One great saintly person was saying that for lifetimes I have been satisfying the unwanted orders of my material senses. And the senses, they haven't been showing me any kindness because they still want more. They're not satisfied. And they're continuously asking for more service. But this devotee is saying, at this time, now my intelligence has awakened. And now I'm refusing to obey the unwanted orders of these material senses. And then this devotee prays to Krishna that you please engage me in your devotional service and save me. Save me. Because in the material world, that's all we have to do is serve our senses. Serve our senses, or our wife or our family's senses. Serve someone else's senses, but we're not able to find any happiness. We're serving the dog. We have to go and get the food for the dog. Put the food out for the dog. We have to get up in the morning, open the door for the dog. So the dog doesn't mess in the house. We have to serve the dog. So much service we're actually servants. That's actually our dharma, practically speaking, is to serve. Even though we refuse to accept our position as servants of God. So, Krishna consciousness is encouraging us to admit Jivara Swarupaya Krishnara Nichadas. We are the servants of the Supreme Personality of God. And He is the best master. He is the best master. We may not think so. We may be thinking, well, I want this and I want that. I'm looking for a wife, I'm looking for a husband. I'm looking for that big job that pays me millions. I'm looking for this and I'm looking for that. And He's not supplying. But why is He not supplying? It's because He knows we won't be able to handle it. We won't be able to benefit from His material blessing. There are two kinds of personalities. Even amongst those who accept God, there's called the Sakamas. Sakama means with desires. And then there's the Nishkamas. Those who don't have any desires but to serve Krishna. So Krishna He can fulfill the desires of the demigods and of ourselves. But He's not so happy doing so. What He wants to do, as we understand from most religions, is that people want things from God, but they don't want God. And God wants to give Himself. He wants to give Himself to His devotee. So, Krishna consciousness means to engage in activities for the service of Krishna. And the more we do so, the happier we will become. And you will notice, and devotees do notice, that the more as the years go by, as the weeks go by, the days go by, the years go by, one is feeling more satisfied and pleased in this world, not because of material facility, but because they feel themselves coming closer to Krishna. And Krishna is reciprocating. So he's doing that. He's giving us everything required, even for the atheistic persons. Still, Krishna is giving the food and the water and the air. But what he wants to give is himself. So the Bhagavad Gita is asking us to surrender to Krishna. Just surrender. And leave everything to God. That's kind of a tall order. That's kind of a tall order because we think we're in control. We're in control, but we're not. So many things are out of control. The economy, the politics, everything is really out of control. But when we really surrender to Krishna, we depend on Krishna, then we can see actually how everything is under his guidance. Even this material world. Daiviyesha gunamai, mama maya duratviya, mam evaye prapadyante, mayam itam dharmantite. So, this material world is running under my jurisdiction. And it's everything that's going on in this world is under her power, but she is controlled by me. So as devotees see their position in this world as Krishna's servants, then the material energy begins to switch from an obstacle to a helper in one's devotional life. So when we're fighting the material energy, we're always being defeated. And when we're trying to serve Krishna, somehow everything works out. So we have the opportunity by hearing Bhagavad Gita, reading Bhagavad Gita, understanding Krishna's words, understanding his direction, of appreciating how kind Krishna is. Srila Prabhupada described that Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's gift. Krishna's gift to humanity. So it is a wonderful gift. The more we study and read, some of the devotees have been asked to read Bhagavad Gita in order to be initiated. They have to read Bhagavad Gita. But the devotees are reading Bhagavad Gita every day, practically speaking. I even think Mahatma Gandhi was reading Bhagavad Gita. Of course, not the right one, but every day. It should be a part of every devotee's life. Chad, chapter a day. Try to read a chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day. Keep Krishna's words in one's consciousness. And then one will gradually see how this is how the universe is working under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Is that right? Ouch. So I have one or two questions. Maybe I can read. Mother Ramana Devi, do you have a question? I see you're taking notes.
No, I didn't have a question.
What did you do?
Did you think about it, right?
Okay. Krishna is not different from his name. Please explain how. And if so, then we are so fool. When we are chanting his name, we don't realize that he is dancing on our tongue. Well, that's a very, to feel Krishna dancing on one's tongue which people who are very advanced may experience. But the fact is that Krishna is fully present in his name. Nama Chintamanai Krishnas Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Punakshubho Nityamukto Vinatvam Nama Nami. Krishna and his name, they are the same. So we say Krishna. Krishna is there. Krishna is present. But one of our great lady devotees, Queen Kunti, she explained that there's a quality. There's a quality to such utterances. One can say Krishna in material satisfaction, or one can say Krishna in complete dependence. So there's a difference in the quality of the chanting. And that is what Krishna, just like devotees are offering prasadam to the lordships. They cook the food in the kitchen and it's placed on plates and it's presented on the altar because that's what's going on when the curtains are closed. And Krishna eats. Krishna eats. But then they take the plates off and it's like, oh, nobody ate anything. It's all still there. But Krishna doesn't eat like that. Krishna eats. He eats with his eyes. And he also eats with his ears. When he hears the call of love, the request of the devotee that Krishna, we prepare these nice things for you, you please accept. Krishna doesn't need it. He's the source of everything. He doesn't need to eat. But if someone offers with love, Patram Pushpam Pamatoyam Yo Me Bhaktya Priyachiti. If one offers with love, I will accept it. Even if it's just a leaf, a patra, a flower, pushpa, a palam, a fruit, or water, any little thing. Krishna says he'll accept it. I will accept it if it's offered with love. So Krishna is accepting the love of the devotee. So Krishna is seeing the prasad, how it's cooked. He's listening to the devotee's offering of prayer. And he's accepting. So that again is the quality of the utterance. That one has to chant with intense desire to please. If I say, Ramandi, Ramanandi, Ramanandi, all day long, then she'll be she'll probably, what's the crazy guy doing? But everyone is pleased when they hear their name. When they hear their name. What is your name? Hello. Yes. Courtney. So if I say Courtney. Better than that. Then one is attracted to hear. So Krishna, he appreciates when devotees call his name in love. So that's different from just Hare Krishna. But the benefit is there. Prabhupada was in Mauritius. He was in Mauritius. And they were on the road. And the roads in Mauritius are a little small and narrow. And they have a lot of sugarcane fields there. Prabhupada called it a sugarcane hell. So they were driving along the road and this big truck came by with sugarcane in it. and a bunch of workers in the back of the truck, and they passed the car where Prabhupada was driving. And most of the people in Mauritius are Indian or Indian descent. So they saw Srila Prabhupada, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, in a jostling, joking way. And the devotees in the car asked Srila Prabhupada, well, what benefit do they get? What benefit do they get when they chant like that, humorously? And Prabhupada said, they're liberated. They're liberated. So how do we see liberation? How do we understand? It's also explained, we were studying Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj, we're reading the third canto about Diti and Kashyap, and how Diti's children would be the first demons. But then Kashyapa explained that, but the son of one of your sons will be Prahlad Maharaj, and he will be the greatest of devotees. So, the ability to chant, the ability to hear, the ability to want to understand about Krishna is the real life of our souls. And if we can just practice carefully, then we can experience that. And if we keep association with devotees, then we can see how they are practicing and how they are benefiting by chanting Hare Krishna. Okay, over time, so I'll stop here. There's one question though. How does the Maha Mantra help control the senses, the mind and senses? So, it's a meditation. And how do you meditate? You have to fix 2 or more senses on an object. So by chanting, we're using our tongue, we're using our ears, and for devotees we have our japamala, we use our touch. So then with 3 senses, you need at least 2. You can focus, you can meditate on something. So gradually as one meditates on that sound, one becomes one's heart. The sound enters into the ear and it enters into the heart. And it cleans the heart. Jaito, Drapana, Arjuna. So as we chant sincerely and purely, of course there are different levels of chanting. There's offensive chanting, there's clearing chanting, and then there's pure chanting. So these are different aspects of Krishna consciousness that come as one begins to practice carefully. So we thank you very much. If you have any other questions while we're taking prasadam afterwards, just ask one of the devotees and they can answer them for you. So we thank you very much for listening and hearing Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada, Krishna time, my Thai board.
Medhāvī Prabhu ki jai.